Hey there, everybody. Shell Brodnax here with another episode of Stager Talk. And I am super stoked today because we have an amazing person on my show today. I want to welcome everybody. Welcome, Michelle Villalobos. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to connect.
You know, I am so excited to have you be speaking at RESACON because you and I, when we met, we actually, one of our board of directors, I'm going to name drop because that's what I do. Annie Furlow had known you online. I'm not sure if you guys had worked together or she was part of your mastermind or something that you did that just caught her attention. And she says, you've got to look at this person for something else. And then I looked at you and I'm like, well, sure, on the something else, but heck yeah, for speaking at RESACON, I'm into this person. And you're going to be speaking. Your topic is called How to Sell with Grace, Ease, and Flow, which you and I spoke previously about just how much I connected with that, because there's so many different sales methods and they don't all work for everybody.
Indeed. Absolutely.
And so tell us a little bit about what you're going to talk about.
Yeah, well, I call my approach to sales now my later approach in life, because I was in sales for many years, doing it sort of what I call the old paradigm way. And what I call the new paradigm, or the way that I do it now, I call it sales as service. Meaning, because everybody says, oh, you sell, you serve when you're selling and all that. And that's all well and good. And that's true. And I actually consider your sales process to be the first step in how you serve people. And so reframing sales around service such that whether people buy or don't buy, they're getting so much value that they'll either buy from you in the future or potentially refer you to someone.
Yeah, I love that. I know in the staging industry, it's very much a standard, I would say, I don't know, standard trend preferred way of working. Try never to say no to somebody. It's like, no, you can't, you don't want to say, no, I can't do it. Well, I can do that, but it will be this or whatever it might be. So when a lot of times people will ask you to come down on your pricing and it's like, we can't do that, but what's your budget? Maybe we can work with that and you try something new. And to be able to, what I like to say is really vet your clients and to make sure they're the right fit for you. In addition to them, you're really doing them a service. You're doing yourself a service. Because if you're not the right fit, you don't want that client. But so many people think like they have to land every single person that rocks in front of them. And it baffles me.
That is old paradigm sales 101. Yeah. Your job is to always be selling, always be closing. Remember?
ABC.
And that's how I grew up, or I started my career in the 90s. Through the 2000s and through the 2000 teens. I don't know how you call that.
Yeah, I don't know
and
either.
In all of those decades, the primary focus was always be selling, always be closing. Your job is to get a yes. And the problem, the kind of root problem that I recently identified in the last, I'd say 8 or 9 years, has been the root problem is attachment to the sale. And when you come from a place of being attached to a yes or attached to a specific outcome, you will bend, you will drop your value, you will let the client lead you. And that's where I think people, especially our type of industries, right, where we're providing a service that requires expertise and professionalism, the real solution is to step into leadership in the sales conversation. And that means step one is to let go of the attachment to that outcome and instead refixate or reorient toward a new attachment, which is to serve. And when we do that, we end up with better outcomes overall.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. When you're looking at it, changing it from your salesperson, that you're a leadership person, because you can lead them and you can guide them, because there are so many times just people take on, because like you said, you're attached to it. It's the numbers game. So always be closing, ABC. It's a numbers game, smile and dial, all of those things. I started out in the 80s. So it was like hardcore, just pick up the phone and pick up the phone and pick up the phone and mark it on a tick sheet. And, all of that, it just doesn't work for me any longer. I'm not even attracted to that. And I would much rather know that a potential client, if they're going to work with me, I want to know if it's going to work for both of us. Like, I want to know that I can give them the best value that I possibly can for anything it is that I'm advising them. And I also want to know that they're coachable, or,
Yeah.
you know, for me, we're coaching. So I want to know that you're coachable, and I want to know that you're going to be willing to do what it is that I'm going to suggest for you, because if you're going to pay me for something and you're not going to listen to me, I'm stealing from you, and I'm not going to do that. In addition, I'm only as successful as the people I help become successful. So then you mess up my success ratio when you don't do what I'm asking you to do. So you got to go. So if I can weed those out ahead of time,
Yes.
then it's great. So I might not be the good fit, but let me refer you to somebody who can.
Right. And really it's what you're talking about is stepping into trust as
Yeah.
as a way of being on the sales conversation. So, you know, starting with detaching from the outcome, trusting that when you come from service, you will be able to identify the right fit, and you step into leadership. So you're not like an order taker, you're not bending over backwards for clients, you're leading them, which by the way, they want. People
Yes.
actually want to be led. They want to be told. They want to know that you know what you're doing and you're a trustable person. Part of that is being trustable and telling somebody, I can't help you. For example, are you willing to invest this much in order to see this gain in your real estate value, for example? And if somebody's not willing, then you can't help them, right? And to try to get them to say yes, in spite of that, when you know they're not going to invest in the furniture needed, or not going to invest in the services needed, you're not going to be able to succeed. And it, like you said, that messes with your success ratio. So
Yeah.
you want to identify that up front. And the way to do that is to step into the sales conversation in a leadership capacity, which people often don't do. People often, and I know I did when I was in real estate sales, art sales, publishing sales, I always came into the conversation like I was somehow less than the client, because the client had the power to say yes or no. And so I didn't realize that this was subconscious, but I was coming in as an underling. I was
Yeah.
coming in as a supplicant, as somebody like, oh, please say yes to me, buy from me. Oh, the customer is always right. Whatever you say, right? And that's really, not effective when you're building your own business, when you're
Absolutely.
trying to establish yourself as a leader in your space, when you want people to spend more. If you want boutique pricing, if you want to be at the upper echelon of your industry, you can't show up like that. You need to show up as a leader.
Yeah, absolutely. In addition, when you show up as the leader, what that does is it raises your credibility and
Yeah.
your expertness. And so many people, even new people that get into the industry, and new people you're listening, I know there's so many of you right now, you've got to get to RESACON to talk to listen to Michelle's talk. But let us both tell you, don't just take it from me. I'm preaching it all the time because she's going to back me on this. People want to buy from you because they connect with you and because they trust with you, not just because you have something that they need. And when you come from the leadership and then you're expressing yourself like the expert, they respect you more, even if you have to turn them down and refer you to somewhere else. They're going to remember you for that,
Yeah.
and they're going to respect it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I do want to circle back to something you said. It's not that I think that outreach and prospecting is bad. It's great. And you need to do
Absolutely.
that in particular at the beginning. If it is early days in your business, yeah, you need to smile and dial and network and connect and reach out. And that's the work. And you can still do that from a place of leadership, from a place of valuing yourself, and from a place of non-attachment. If you have the sense that like, oh, this one deal, I need this deal, or I must get this deal, whether it's from financial reasons or ego reasons, significance, proving it to yourself, proving it to somebody else, those are the times, that's when we get attached. And that's when we tend to manipulate or use some sort of power play to get people to do what we want. And that is creating a relationship on a foundation of, it's a shaky foundation, because whether
Trouble.
people
Yeah.
are conscious of it or not, they can feel it. It's energetic. And I know you and I believe in that, Shell. And for those people who don't really think in those terms, there is science that is actually showing that people can feel that emotional projection from our heart. Like we can actually measure it with scientific tools. And there's a feeling that people get in our presence. People can feel our energy. And if we are coming from the energy of desperation or manipulation or power play, whether they know it or not, it's there and it's present in the field.
Yeah, a lot of people see right through it. Here's the other thing with this. When you're newer and you're starting out, you want that sale, you're attached to it. And it's like you will stop breathing if you don't get it. But here's the thing I want other people, new people to consider. Numbers are great and getting them all are great. However, you have so much to learn just by the process of saying no. You will learn so much. It is really just priceless education just to be able to vet somebody, making sure they're the right fit for you and not taking it. Because what is the one thing, especially with women, and I know we do have men now in our industry, a lot more than we used to, but I'm going to speak to the women right now. What do we all have? Your gut intuition. And when you start being so attached that you start bending at the knee for that client because you're green, because you're insecure, because you need that job, it is just a whirlwind for disaster. And what happens is you're always going to look back and you say, I knew I shouldn't have done it. I knew I shouldn't have taken that client.
Yeah. Well,
And here it
yes,
is.
100%. And I know you and I agree on this too, Shell. Like there's no such thing as failure, right? There's just
Right.
learning. There's just progress.
The results of what
There-
happened.
Yeah. And if you can integrate that and you can make peace with it, because that's another really important thing. There's the attachment gets in the way. So does regret. So does fear of making a mistake, or, you've got to also be willing to take chances, make mistakes, and recognize, in my belief, it's a much more empowering way of being in sales to just say, all right, well, that's exactly what was meant to happen so that I could learn what I needed to learn. If we could
Yes.
take that on also, plus the non-attachment together, we start to become very powerful and very compelling for people. It's very magnetic if you've been around somebody who knows who they are, knows their value, doesn't bend over for people, who leads from service, from love and care, who speaks truth. Like this is exactly the kind of person that I would want to invest with, that I would trust, that I would want representing me and helping me build my property value up,
Absolutely. And I think another time with people is they're always trying to be somebody else. Let's adopt this from this person or that from that person. And it's okay to do, factual things and processes, but your own style. You have to really come from your own heart in order to make it happen, or else you're not putting off an authentic vibe, and people know that as well when you're not authentic with them.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of not authentic, I had an experience the other day. I think it was an insurance agent. It was an insurance agent, and I had to get new homeowners insurance. And my God, I just want to get off that phone so bad, because all she did was try to ingratiate herself with me and compliment me. And I could just feel that it wasn't authentic. And sure enough, the moment I said, well, I'm going to think about this, I'm not ready today. I have a couple other places I want to call. She got rude and bitchy. Sorry. And it was just like, I knew that was all an act. I knew that you were just faking it. And I think that that's so important, what you're saying, Shell, about being authentic and being real. And I would say that one of the things we're going to focus on in my talk, and in the part that comes after the talk, where we're going to dive deeper into the structure and the process, is to ask a lot of questions and be more curious, rather than trying to tell about what you do. Instead, drawing the person out with not questions that are irrelevant, trying to ingratiate yourself, but really questions that are relevant to what the project at hand is, and will help you show the value of the work that you're doing. Deep
Absolutely.
question asking and listening, really going down the rabbit hole with people.
Yeah.
That's going to make you feel like an expert.
And that's crucial in our industry in particular, because sometimes selling your home is not a happy, joyous occasion.
Yeah.
The stagers deal with every reason you can possibly imagine of why you would have to sell your home. It could be a death, it could be a job, you could be moving, it could be a divorce. There's so many things. So when you're asking these questions, why are you moving? What are your goals? What do you need to get out of the home? What are your deadlines? This is golden information that people will give back to you, because you're going to remember this, and it's going to help you with the rest of your dialogue. And sometimes people need a little hand holding through these processes. And especially with stagers, a lot of times they're, part-time therapists as well, because like I said, it's not always, the best situation when somebody's selling a home. So it really helps you gain a lot of insight to that particular person's plight and what they're going through, which can only help you serve them better.
I'm so glad that you brought that up, because people in sales have such a resistance sometimes to let it get sad or uncomfortable. And what you're telling me is that in this business, in this industry, sometimes that's extremely relevant and important information.
Yeah.
So when you know that someone is selling for a reason, perhaps a divorce or something like that, that changes the landscape of things. And questions like, well, what happens if this house doesn't sell for this much? Or what happens if you don't sell it quickly enough, right? And digging into the future trajectories of what happens if they don't get the value, if they don't get the price point that they need. Like, there's a real consequence to that, and actually understanding what that consequence is goes a long way toward positioning your value and what you charge.
Yeah, absolutely. I could not agree more with that. I'm just always so amazed, there's so many people that have so many different takes on sales. And I know that, sometimes we always have to try some things out and see what works and see what doesn't work and what sticks and what doesn't stick. And I just think if people can just always remember just to be authentic, come from a place of caring from the other person, it really does make such a difference in what everybody's doing.
Yeah, that compassion. Again, going back to what I was talking about earlier with the energetic piece. People can feel it when you care. They feel it when you're invested. And it doesn't mean that. So a lot of times I think people want to there's this idea that we separate business from feelings. And that's a very kind of almost like a masculine thing, right? Separate business and pleasure and compartmentalize, right? And as you said, there's so many women in this industry. It's more female led, more female driven, more feminine focused. And that's the beauty of the feminine, right? That's the beauty of being a woman, that we don't necessarily easily, most of us, compartmentalize like that. Like, we bring it all to the table. But then sometimes I think that we have this shame about, oh, I can't cry in front of a client, or I can't show my emotions, or I found that the deepest relationships with clients are the ones where I let myself really connect with them and let them connect with me. Not that it's about me in a sales process, because it's not, but there is an opportunity to be vulnerable and connect with people as well.
Yeah. To have a moment with somebody, that human connection is priceless always.
It is.
Well, I am so excited to have you be our speaker at RESACON. This is going to be so great. Everybody, if you are watching, you are listening right now, please check out the website, resaconvention.com. Get your ticket. We are right now, I know I'm dating this and I shouldn't, because it should be evergreen, but whatever. It's March 14th. So we still have tickets available at the early bird pricing. Get onto the website, get your ticket today, get to Las Vegas this summer, and you will be able to learn from Michelle, because it's not just a keynote speech. It's not just a typical someone just going to get in up there and just telling you a bunch of stuff in theory, because Michelle's going to dig deep. She's going to do it more like a workshop as well. So she's going to talk about the theory, tell you about it, why it works, and then she's going to dig really deep and then teach you how to actually do this.
Yeah, we're going to, if you don't mind, I'll share, we're going to actually dig into the 10-step process of setting up a conversation like this, like how to introduce yourself on the call and the specific words that you can use in order to establish leadership. So I give you that whole process, that structure, with a script and a worksheet so that you can create your own version of it that resonates with you.
Yeah, I love it. It's going to be so helpful. So thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate your time. And it's always great to connect with you and talk to you. I could probably talk to you about just about anything, but sales and marketing and all this stuff, would just such a good vibe. So I really appreciate it. And for everybody else, if you're listening, like I said, resaconvention.com, get your tickets today, and we will see you in Vegas. Until next time, happy staging, everybody. Bye.